Hello, I'm Pip Courtney. Welcome to A Taste of Landline, where we showcase our food and where it comes from. First up, using coffee grounds to grow mushrooms.
Oyster mushrooms love the coffee waste. They're also known as the vegetarian steak.
Gutsy bush innovators.
I just had this voice in my head telling me to keep going.
And can produce get any prettier?
Hello, I'm Sean Murphy. Did you know that 99% of the coffee that goes into your morning cuppa ends up as a waste product, and most of it goes into landfill? Well, here's a creative solution. In the back blocks of Western Australia's largest port town, this could be a shipping container yard. But it's a working farm. They're growing oyster mushrooms. And besides its urban location, what sets this farm apart is the material used to grow its crop in. It's recycled coffee waste.
Oyster mushrooms love the coffee waste. They're also known as the vegetarian steak because of the B6, the B12, the iron. So they tick both of those boxes. We can grow them off the waste product. They love the coffee and they have a lot of nutritional value. So we're calling these the coffee mushroom. We're finding through the research and through feedback from chefs that there is a better taste to the mushrooms. The mushrooms grow better off of the coffee waste, and it's a waste product that typically goes to landfill.
Julian Mitchell and his business partner Ryan Creed got the idea while working in the mining industry.
When we were working in the mines as health and wellness officers, the philosophy behind Life Cycle is really a local food that emphasises nutrition and health, happiness and waste utilisation.
Their business started in the coffee-loving hub of Fremantle, where they won a competition hosted by the city. The One Planet pitch promotes triple bottom line sustainability.
It got voted on by the community members as one of their favourites, but then they've got to go out and raise half the money from the community through crowdfunding, which they did, and then the council matches the other half.
It takes a month for the oyster mushrooms to grow out of their coffee waste packets, and it took Julian Mitchell and Ryan Creed even less time to raise $15,000 through crowdfunding. They offered most of their supporters home starter kits.
So this is day 3, and in about 4 or 5 days this guy will be ready to harvest. It will double in size each day, so it's very engaging and very fun to watch.
The reaction of the public's been overwhelming. A surprise to see how many people are contacting us who want to connect with the coffee ground collection, connect with the local food movement and be at the forefront of change for local food.
Fremantle's Bread in Common restaurant was quick to join the closed-loop system. It's one of 17 outlets in Fremantle and Perth exchanging fresh mushrooms for coffee grounds. Chef Scott Brannigan is an enthusiastic supporter.
Oh, they look beautiful. I've just got a nice little pork dish I'm going to do with them. Bit of togarashi and some seaweed, so be really good. Get your coffee grind. Yeah, mate. Cheers. Enjoy. See you later.
At Bread in Common, there's already a strong emphasis on sustainability.
And I use a lot of my waste to make vinegars, like fruit waste and things like that, so the mushrooms are just an extension of that.
People may love their coffee in Fremantle, but when it comes to coffee culture in Australia, all roads lead to Melbourne. Life Cycle has now expanded its operations to Melbourne, and has entered a partnership with another crowd-funded coffee waste recycling venture. Caitlin Reid and Minna Larson's company Reground is already collecting a tonne of coffee waste every week for garden products.
In the city of Melbourne alone, there's about 5,000 tonnes of ground coffee, and that's a really conservative estimate based on cafes going through roughly 30 kgs of coffee a week. Most cafes go through a lot more and then restaurants go through less, but that converts to methane gas, which is 20 to 40 times more potent than carbon pollution from cars.
So then we're talking about what we can potentially do in this space down here.
Yes.
Ryan Creed is busy building the business and new partnerships with a sharp focus on education. He's taking the Life Cycle mushroom starter kits to primary schools, working with Victoria's Life Education Company to grow the message about growing sustainable local food.
So mushrooms are very high in phosphorus, iron, vitamin B, and when you're harvesting them off the box into your pan and eating them straight away, like you were talking about, you're capturing that health.
The Life Cycle kits are also being offered to schools for fundraising as an alternative to chocolate, and the company is donating some of its proceeds to expanding the Life Education program. Besides Melbourne and Fremantle, they've now also started a closed loop at Noosa in Queensland. They reckon the potential is unlimited.
So when we think about in 2030 and 2050 there's going to be 7 billion people and 9 billion people, how are we going to do this? This current model is not sustainable for that, around huge broad acre farming, shipping food all around the place, having a large carbon footprint attached to that, growing food locally because it's fresh and tastier, but because it's also sustainable is really our vision, and that's what we want to do across Australia.
Overseas grown fruit is there's no traceability, there's no accountability, we don't know what the growing practices are.
Hello, I'm Courtney Wilson. Starting a business is never easy, but imagine doing it from the middle of a dusty sheep and cattle station in the grips of one of the worst droughts on record. This story is about two remarkable outback Queensland women who've done just that. Joy McClymont is a personal trainer that lives 120 kilometres from the closest gym.
Nice. What about? Oh.
She's aware it's a little unusual.
That's a big part, is seeing the possibilities beyond the impossible.
We're getting ready for girls at the front. The boys, can you step up onto the apron on the back? At the back? Can you step up?
Julie Brown also knows a thing or two about thinking outside the square.
All right. You look great, guys. Thank you.
She started an online swimwear business from a dusty sheep station 8 hours away from the beach.
I just had this voice in my head telling me to keep going, even though it felt mad.
Joy and Julie both hail from the central west of Queensland, where drought has dominated most lives over the past 5 years. But when everything around them was dying, the small seeds of two big business ideas began to grow.
We had no control over the weather, and I felt though that if I worked really hard on cooler causes, I could have an element of control on that. I could make a difference.
I'm really actually thankful that the drought changed my thinking, because at that point I was thinking I couldn't possibly fit another thing in. Now I wonder why it took so long to start.
Weathering the highs and lows of life on the land is something the Brown family has come to know well.
The drought is a slow, silent and merciless thief. It just gradually takes things away from you, takes the grass away, takes the water away, takes the stock away, and it starts taking hope away. No rain, no grass and no stock. The drought has driven us a little crazy. So we've channeled all that crazy and every cent of our savings into cooler cozies to bring high quality, beautiful swimwear to you. And please pray for rain for outback Queensland. Trying to sell swimwear from outback Queensland in the middle of the drought, that is, yeah, it sounds pretty stupid. But it was something that I could have control over. I thought, well, there's a niche in the market, and even if it's really, really tough and even if it's a crazy idea, I'm going to take a swing at it.
Julie's video of the Cooler Cozies gang quickly attracted thousands of views online.
It was the stark reality of what was happening out here, and also I guess it's not every day that you see swimwear being launched from a dusty paddock, so that had a bit of a novel appeal as well.
But as with any new venture, along with the highs came some lows. The day after Cooler Cozies finally launched, Julie's home lost all telecommunications, and it stayed that way for 3 long weeks.
So I thought, oh God, if that's a sign, I'm doomed. But anyway, I did the hour each way into town to access internet and finished off the website. I had stock arriving at the same time.
"18 months on, the Cooler Cozies crew returned to the same paddock where their first photo shoot took place.
Okay.
The backdrop looks vastly different.
On the count of 3, happy Christmas, Cooler Cozies. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Cooler Cozies!
Birthday, Christmas.
Along with the grass, Julie's business has also been growing.
We've had orders from every state in Australia, which is very exciting, even 2 from Tasmania. And 2 orders from the UK, 2 from USA and 2 from New Zealand, so we've gone global.
Going somewhere in the middle of nowhere is something Joy McClymont knows all about.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? That's cool. Great. Can you just call in with your name so I get a bit of a feel for who's on today?
The personal trainer is on a mission to prove to others who are isolated, no gym, no worries.
Hey, Yvonne. Good on you, matey. How are you trucking?
Every morning from the comfort of her kitchen, Joy takes a trip around Australia via her virtual gym.
Woohoo! And welcome to another live workout. It is super cool to have you on today. There's Ainsley from St Lawrence, Annabelle from Quilpie, there's Julianne from Oak Park, there's from Western New South Wales like Burke and Boolia. All over Australia I've got someone from every state now, so it's really exciting. Mostly rural and remote, but regional and some in cities are splattering because it's really a program that transfers to any location. You don't have to be in a specific spot. You can be travelling, you can be on the other side of the world if you want to. I've had some international people dial in every now and again just to experience it.
Dalkeith Station has been in the McClymont family for 97 years, the past few of which have been among the more difficult. It's raining now and some livestock are back on Dalkeith, but during the drought it was completely destocked, and Joy's husband Paul has had to work away to keep the cash flowing. Joy began her business about 8 years ago, but it wasn't until 2015, when drought really took hold on the property, that she decided to try and take off-the-track training to the next level.
It actually made me say, right, do I want this business to expand? Do I want it to scale it? And do I want it to provide an income? And I found myself saying, yes, let's give it a good crack because I've got the time, we're not busy with stock work, and there's the driving factor of having an off-farm income. I've just got to get this set up.
What began with Joy emailing her friends and family training regimes has now evolved into a national interactive health and fitness program, especially catered towards people who are isolated.
Can you hop up there and just jump over there? Everywhere you look, there's something that you can use. Fence posts, fence railings, jumping over rocks, rocks to use for weights. Hi everybody and welcome to week 2. It's so exciting. There's so much opportunity. You don't have to buy anything and you don't have to feel like you need the right type of gear. It's all there and you just have to keep your eyes open for it. To actually just be fit and healthy because of the way it makes you feel rather than the measure on the scale.
Replacing weights with irrigation pipes, the treadmill with a gravel driveway, and medicine balls with moon rocks, Joy's novel approach to staying in shape has garnered plenty of attention.
And it's just a static exercise where you're holding a weight out in front of you for a particular length of time. Really hurts. Holding, 5 more after the burn, and then release.
Hundreds of people have now joined Joy's online programs for about the same cost as a physical gym membership. Even Google recently recognised Joy's business in its Regional Online Heroes Awards.
This is really her passion, and to take what she's doing into and enabling other people to experience the joy that she's had from her fitness offerings. And the way she's been utilising technology to do that. What she's doing has actual global implication.
You can do basic squats or pop.
Joy really believes that people who live remotely need to be physically and mentally well. But a major barrier to health for those who work the land for a living is the misconception that physical labour means physical fitness.
It's still work, and often you'll be developing one type of cardiovascular system or muscular system and you'll forget about all the others.
We can be working hard but at one job, and our body gets very conditioned to that and let down in other areas. And it's really been an eye-opener, just the need for it in the industry amongst men and women for so many different reasons.
The one thing we don't think we need is the one thing we do in a lot of instances. So when people are feeling terrible about their situation, they feel, like there's nothing within their control, then I often will say, just get out, get some oxygen into your brain. It helps you to think clearly about the situation. Okay, star jumps.
Both Joy and Julie live in a remote part of Australia. But with an idea, hard work and modern telecommunications, they're proving they can do anything.
There really is no reason why businesses should not be dreaming big. Australian innovation is really demanded across the planet. So as we come up with great ideas down here, the internet, online marketing enables these businesses to reach customers right across the planet.
It's good to tick the exercise box, isn't it? Rip a reader.
If you've got an idea and there's just something in your heart that's telling you to give it a go, even though it's really scary, have the courage to take a swing at it. Just have a go. You just never know what could happen. One last time.
It's on trend for paleo, it's on trend for gluten-free, nuts tick so many boxes.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Calderwood. It started as a small backyard kitchen garden, now a flower farm in the middle of a Queensland marine park. It's blossomed into a thriving business and is selling to some of Brisbane's top restaurants.
This might be the prettiest farm in all of Queensland. Magenta and pink cosmos, cobalt blue butterfly peas, and zinnias every colour of the rainbow. But they're not headed for the florist. They're on their way to kitchens and restaurants around Brisbane.
Some flowers, they do taste a little bitter. Some have got sweet notes to them, some are a bit spicy. And then we've got a couple that are just right out of the ballpark weird.
Come out of its little bud. It's got a big flat face.
Simone Jelly was a photographer before she became a farmer. A few years ago, she planted a kitchen garden with edible flowers. But as interest grew, she had to seek out a rural lease. She produces more than just flowers. The discovery that one of her most persistent weeds was actually a valuable medicinal herb inspired her to push the boundaries of what is edible.
That's when I started to have the epiphany of, hang on a second, if I've been fighting this particular weed in my garden, what else am I fighting, and is it edible, and what is its health benefits? Okay, if you can eat the flower, can you eat the leaf? What can I eat at my feet? That weed, okay, can I eat that shrub? Can I eat, that is a berry, but can I eat the flower that berry has been generated from?
Experimenting with leaves and herbs often discarded as weeds, Simone and her team have developed a variety of leaf mixes, ranging from hot and sour to bitter and anise. The key is nailing the balance of pretty and delicious.
We kind of have a guarantee that we're going to supply you something that looks fabulous but also tastes great. So we kind of have to make decisions about edibility. Is it going to compete and distract the consumer at a restaurant? Are they going to go, that flour didn't go wonderfully well with my $100, plate of food. So we take a bit of a responsibility with supplying stuff that fits all of the, ticks the boxes.
Simone's farm is on Lamb Island in Moreton Bay. At only 200 hectares, it seems an unlikely home for agriculture. But a century ago, it and nearby islands were part of southeast Queensland's salad bowl. The rich red soil provided a fertile home for a wide variety of crops for the young state. In the late 1800s, the Acclimatisation Society of Queensland used the islands to test which crops would thrive in the subtropical climate. The remnants of those early experiments in subtropical agriculture are dotted around the islands.
It's barge on, barge off, ferry on, ferry off. There's no bridge. So everything that we do is dictated to by the distance of water. So we've got to, get produce off, which has its overheads, and then we've got to get resources in.
Hello. Hey boys.
Despite the distance, Simone makes a point of personally delivering her produce.
I've got some interesting things for you. Have you seen these?
She has 6 restaurants on the books, including Esquire in Brisbane's high-end Eagle Street precinct.
Native wild legume, the Crotalaria.
Simone's produce ends up in degustation menus, with meals costing up to $160 a person.
It's got a little sweet taste to it, doesn't it?
It's got a sweet,
nutty taste.
Nutty, dense.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Weekly deliveries are a chance to catch up with the chefs and discuss what will be available in coming weeks.
The big benefits of having direct supply to chefs is that chefs actually communicate back exactly the feedback of what you're doing, but they also are able to give you the jump on what they intend to be looking for maybe the next season's menu, especially seasonal chefs. So I've had a chat to 2 chefs today, and I've got the jump on what they are looking at even for their winter menus, so that gives me time to get plantings in now.
Little fennel, and I've got some...
The chefs aren't afraid to ask for unusual produce.
It's actually endemic.
They're not interested in following current food trends, so they work closely with Simone to build new and unusual flavour profiles.
Yeah, we love challenging the customer. I think we're almost kind of known for that. It's a bit of a love love-hate kind of industry. A lot of people are very opinionated about what you can and can't eat. So Simone pushes that boundary. Some things I just don't know how it's possible to use, but like at the end of the day, it's up to our creativity, and yeah, it's really interesting. Some things I'm just so amazed that you can actually eat.
Thanks to a nomination from Esquire, Pretty Produce won a national gold medal in last year's Delicious Awards. 25-year-old Angus Baker was also awarded Young Chef of the Year using Simone's produce.
I think it's not, it's all about not really taking the produce for granted, not just looking at it and thinking, oh, it looks nice, so I'll just throw it on the plate. It's actually like taking the time to find out the flavour profiles, different textures as well. Obviously things take a lot longer to cook down if you're cooking with them. So it's, I think it's very much trial and error.
Demand for Simone Jelly's edible flowers is outstripping supply. Her produce is proving as popular as it is pretty. It's a far cry from where it all began.
And I'd had no gardening experience whatsoever, and so from that and the exploration into just trying to get tomatoes and corn, I went on this crazy wild journey into strange edibles, edible weeds, edible flowers and so forth, until here we are a couple of years later, got a little farm.
And that's the show. We hope you enjoyed today's menu. Next time on A Taste of Landline, the splendour of Tasmania's Flinders Island.
Just to see people, you know, when they get to actually hold a wombat, just the joy that people have.
Some amazing silo art. And fancy a schooner of lentil beer.
Cheers.